Because you stood by and said nothing.
Interesting. Both good, come on. The jealousy, yeah, it's just as bad to join in.
Right.
It's not joining in.
And not doing it.
So the best thing is, when you know something, do the right thing.
Right.
And a lot of times, we do the wrong thing, like y'all said. You know, I know because I don't like you,
Right.
you're just gonna add on to it.
Add on to it.
I'm gonna ask you, help me out here, because you know how some things is. Oh, come on now. So let's put it out. Let's tell something, you know, if I were you, I want to boost Sister David. Because, you know, Sister David, this. And you don't even know. You just hear say. So, don't bear false report. You know, if you know something, go to the source. Wouldn't it be the best way to just go to the source? You know, and you know, we hear gossip, we hear things. I mean, we in everyday life. We see things on Facebook. Oh man, that must be true. We hear things, we see it all over the place. It must be true. But don't connive to bear false witness, especially if somebody, if it's going to hurt someone, if it's going to tear them down, please don't do that. All right. Any questions? Number 2. Not only that is the group, you shall not follow the masses. Not only 2 or 3, let's get the whole church involved. We're going to spare room without Pastor Ham. Let's just do it like that. When I'm going to get the deacon first, then I'm going to tell his mother, then I'm going to tell the deaconess, and I'm going to get the whole thing. I'm going to get the whole message. No shall you testify as you turn aside the multitude in order to pervert justice. We're going to get a whole group of people together to tell someone that. And if you get enough people,
You can tear them down.
can you do it? You sure can.
You can. And they'll believe something wrong quicker than they will the truth. And you can tell them the truth, but if they have heard that wrongness, they're going to stick with the wrongness. Yes.
Because it sounds good. And we can stir something up.
Right.
Well, you know, I ain't gonna pass half anyway. It's like, well, so, I heard, I thought, so we get enough people together, like, well, now, why don't you go to the source? You know, spreading falsehoods, innuendos, and lies. That's not good. Any questions?
You know, some people don't want the truth. They were waiting for a door or opportunity. Your enemy always lurking. You know, the adversary always lurking. And some people just wait on an opportunity because they know if I get enough people to believe a lie, the truth won't matter in the public eye. And they'll run with it. And if you get enough people that don't like you to believe a lie on you, then the more you push back, the worse you look. Even though you're telling the truth. You know, and you know when Paul was shipwrecked, and he came to the island, and they were looking for firewood, and he got bit by a snake. And the natives said,
Oh, yeah.
God has saved this man from the shipwreck to make it to the island so that he can get bit by a snake and die. He must have did something wrong. And in Paul's mind, the native said he must have been a murderer or did something wrong, killed somebody or something. In Paul's mind, he said, I did.
Yeah.
But God still had grace and mercy on him. And God still got grace and mercy now. So regardless, people always going to try to use your past, all that, to condemn you. Because that's what the devil do. Deception is his tool. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful what you feed into and what you allow people to pull you into. Because the more you argue against a lie, the more guilty you'll look.
And the thing that makes it so terrible is when you go along with it. And when you know it. You know it's that way. But until you leave, as I say, you want to get something started. And then a lot of times, you'll put your toe in there, but when you hit the fire blow, you step to the back. I ain't gonna think about it, but you just get everybody. You do your little 2 cents worth in there, but when the fire gets hot, I don't know think about that. Oh, really? That did happen. I did not know that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, they was God's chosen people.
Right.
They were meant to be an example for everybody else. That's just like us. I mean, we church people, right?
Right.
So we supposed to be setting an example for the world. It just stopped back then. It's going on right now. I mean, we know how to act. We know, you know, you don't even have to tell a lie. You can just indicate something else. You know, say something to make it seem like. You don't just have to come right out and say it. I mean, you know what I mean? You can mix words around and make people think what they could put something in their mind to say something else.
Good point.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna add something to that, and we're gonna prove that in chapter 9. Even though they were Israel's chosen people, God is telling them, just because you're my chosen people, you're not better than people you're going to see.
Right.
That's the key. And now they're going to explain that. Because you say you know better, do better, but just because we go to church, we in the church on Sunday, doesn't mean we're better than people who don't go to church.
That's right.
Be careful if we go to church, you know, because I'm in church on Sunday and you didn't come, you better.
Don't even implicate it.
And as you go down to 9, you're going to see that.
Yeah.
The object is not the lie.
Oh, yeah.
The object is to get you to act on Christ-like. To pull you into what they at. That's the
There
object.
you go.
Anytime somebody tell a public lie on you, and it's a public display, the object is to show that you are not Christ-like. Your image is under attack. Are you gonna fall in line and do what I do, and then still call yourself a Christian, or are you gonna act the Christian way? And that's the hard part. Somebody lie on you, it's hard to stay Christian-like. It's hard to stay Christ-like. It's hard, out of all the things that you can do to a Christian, to publicly lie on them.
That's true.
And you know you lying on them.
That's right.
All Christians got a problem with that.
Because you want to be right.
Because you want to defend yourself. And that thin line between defending yourself and acting like them, if you don't watch it, you'll cross over. Real easy.
Very easy.
It's very easy to cross over.
And the line is thin.
Very thin.
Very thin.
Yep.
And it easily can be crossed.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's a good point. Very good. Good class. Now, number 3 kind of threw me for a loop. Somebody please help me. I struggled with that last night. Maybe I should have did my research there. Nor shall you be partial to a poor man in his dispute. Now, somebody help me on that, please. Somebody help me on that. I think what I think it is, yeah. But could anyone kind of help me on that? Not Sunday school superintendent. Or help me out on that. No one? Anyone know one?
I kind of, when I read it, it's kind of like one of those things, just because they forced, you shouldn't have, say, well, I'm biased, or they poor, we don't, he ain't got much, don't do it like that. You gotta be fair all across the board, whether it's rich or poor.
Right.
And sometimes they would get in that case with Jekyll, well, he stole it, he posed, but he knew it was wrong. The rich man still, well, he got money to get it. Well, he still gonna get the same. It's like, it couldn't be no, well, and that's kind of the way I took it, that you couldn't. Yeah.
And that's basically what it is. We do that today.
Yeah.
If you don't have money to pay for a lawyer, you subject to be guilty.
You said it.
Whether you innocent or not. You know, we seen that. We seen that. And then we seen the guilty get off because they got the money.
They got money. We seen it.
You know, so, we looking at it like, golly, they're guilty. But boy, they got a good lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, we praising the lawyer when we should be saying, man, you guilty. You know. But by circumstances, you know, because they wasn't arrested right, or because this happened,
Right.
it pulls more attention off of what they did than the actual crime itself. You know, than the judgment of the act. It pulls it away from that. So we start looking at what they did and start looking at how the system is working. But they're guilty.
That's right.
That's when you strip everything from it and do the A's and the B's and the 1, 2, and 3, you're guilty.
That's it.
You just had a better lawyer. And that's what this is saying. This is saying that no matter who representing them, doesn't matter if they poor or rich.
That's right.
If you did it, you did it. And that should be across the board.
That's right.
Should,
Even if it's your best friend.
That's right.
If you love them, you ought to tell them. If I don't love you, I'll just let you keep going where you're going. But if I love you, I ought to tell you. Not everybody else, but you. And that's a difference. If you love them, then you tell them, and not everybody else.
yes.
And it's piggybacking off of what everybody said, and Pastor as well. It's saying don't pick based on social status. You know what I mean? Some people favor the rich because of the money. Some people empathize or sympathize with the poor because their unfortunate circumstances. But right is right and wrong is wrong. And it's clearly saying don't spread false report. Period. So, like Pastor just said, it doesn't matter if you're poor and you've done something wrong. Somebody should be able to let you know that you're not living right or that you're conducting yourselves in an unchristlike or godly manner. If you're rich and you happen to have the benefit of being financially stable, just because you have more money than others and you can afford a better attorney or what have you, that's fine if you get off, but God is the ultimate judge. So you're going to stand in judgment of him. You may have been able to deceive man. You may have been able to get over on man. But at the end of the day, God sees exactly what you're doing. And if he knows that you lying on somebody, you might have got out of court, but you never know what that punishment, or you might have been able to get out of a jail sentence or what have you. But he saw exactly what you did to do what you did. And it's false witness. So when you do those things, no matter what you're doing, at the end of the day, we all need to do self-reflection and go, yep, God saw that. And be fearful. When they say God-fearing, we need to be fearful of what his answer is going to be and his wrath is going to be.
You know what that question comes into?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
No, and I see it they're talking about you can't bend the law. I mean, you bend the law for some people, well, because them, I know them, or whatever. I'm gonna kind of bend the law on this deal. So it has happened with me. When I was younger, you was out there cutting up, and the sheriff, he knew Granddaddy and them. Boy, you go home, I'm gonna tell a lot of something. He bent the law where he should have locked me up. I mean, it happens.
But by the same token, if he didn't know that person, so you got favor, somebody else might have got caught in jail.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But see, bending the law, I mean, it is what it is.
You gotta know.
We do it.
Where it became a problem at is, when they asked the question, where the poor man broke into a house for food.
There you go.
And he got the same judgment as somebody who broke in the house and killed somebody just to do it. But he got the same penalty. And they look at the crime, because both of them basically broke in the house. And they look at the crime and say, did the judgment fit the crime?
Right.
That's where it becomes, that's where it feels like it becomes unjust. But at the same time, you say, he broke in the house to get food, why you just ask? I couldn't ask nobody. So that's where it becomes shaky at. And then you have to ask yourself, where do mercy kick in? That's where it complicates things. And that's where we have to be careful. That's where it becomes unbiased. You want to know where it becomes unbiased? That's where it becomes unbiased. So somebody along the way going to say, man, somebody should have gave him some food. Then he's going to have to break it down. And then it becomes biased.
Yeah, I was laughing because even you think about when you growing up, there's a little, or when you growing up as kids, you see your older brother do something, you get, man, you got tore up by that boy. But you do the same thing. You be like, man, I remember when I did that, mama told me, you just, because you was young, you didn't get away. So it's funny, even in your household, you become biased and don't even realize it. Your older son said, man, I got tore up by this. They let you get away with anything. But just to think about even that goes into house, your job, everything. When it comes to bias is just not judicial. Bias can go around the board.
And you can do it sometimes. You got to even with your kids, you got to be your kids. You know, if you want to have grandkids, you treat them different than you do kids. My son said, man, if I had done that, like you said, I've been a warning man. Like, you let them do anything they want. But they had a good example, God's word of life, but I thought it made a lot of sense. About if you remember that when the crack was out in the 80s, and powder cocaine, even though it's the same material, you got different sentences. And now if you look at the opioid crisis, they said because it's a rural thing, they're not locking them up for 20, 30 years, 40 years, well, they got a problem. Think about that. What's the difference of how you look at different things? Look at the difference between a white-collar crime and a blue-collar crime. You mentioned about somebody coming there stealing food. Well, somebody, and I not said right, somebody steal food, but what about the people in the white collar crime stealing millions and millions of dollars? Let me tell you, I'm going to talk big thing. You remember last week when OB walked out the field and took him to jail?
Yeah.
Somebody told Dad been drunk and that was got him out the league. But that's another story. Yes, sir.
I was just agreeing with you.
So it just, and we try to be as fair as we can, but we know in this world we have biases. But with God was telling us, when you do go to this land, don't let, because you're my chosen people, set you above. You just want to treat people fair, show them mercy, show them love. Number 4 says, if you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey wandering away, you should surely return it to him. I'm walking around, I see, something that belongs to you just wanting to do. I said, well, let it go. That's my enemy. I don't care what happened to it. If God hits it, that's fine. If it runs off the ditch, that's fine. So if you see him wandering away, just let him know. Now, if it's your friend, you'll let him know. But if somebody you don't like, that's what it says. So if I don't like him, I don't care what happens to him. His donkey or his child. Which child ain't great, I don't care. But like I said, what do? Then it says, if you see the donkey of one who hates you lying helpless under the load, you shall refrain from leaving it to him. You shall surely release it with him. Now, if you see the same donkey or whatever in trouble, not my problem. I don't care about it. Because I don't like that person. And because you done something to me 10 years ago, man, your son right there, I could stop him getting in trouble. Man, I don't care, man. They don't like me, I don't like him. So look how your mindset thinks. Don't do that. Swallow that pride.
That's right.
You had no time you have to swallow that pride, or one I'm not going to do anymore. I don't care what I'm not going to help, I'm not going to help. But if you've got Christianity and Christ in you can't just not do anything. Any question on those?
It's just like I work with Karen Atkinson, and I'm being honest, I hated her. I'm being honest. That was an awful woman. But her son got sick, very sick, and the husband asked me to pray for him.
Wow.
And I said, I cannot believe they want me to pray for her son, how she has done me. But then Nika said, Mama, that son ain't did nothing to you. She says, you gotta do the right thing. So I prayed. But it's just like what you say about this in here. People can do you so bad, I did the right thing. But I had to think about it.
But Miss Jack, I mean, at the end of the day, she's right. It's not about how we feel. You know what I mean? It's about God's expectations.
Right.
And that's where it's hard. Because you're having a spiritual debate with God on, you know it's the right thing to do, but this person or this situation has offended me in such a way that you're trying to hold your blessings and you're trying to hold your prayers, and God, He convicts you. His Spirit convicts you. And He says it's not about that. It's about what have I asked you to do. Now, if you can look God boldly in the face and tell Him, no, you a bad boy, a bad girl. You know what I mean? But when He spiritually reminds you and convicts you that, you know, the song says, this may be my last time, I don't know. And that might be the last test that He's given you. And when your spirit is convicted and He's saying, do what I told you to do, I want you to heed to that sound counsel. Because it would be very difficult, and I hesitate, I stutter over this, because it would be very difficult when God has instructed you to do something and you turn your back on Him.
Amen.
Knowing that you should have done it. How do you explain that to Him? It's not even about the person who was sick. It's not even about the situation. It's not about your circumstance. It's all about, did God tell you to do this thing? And I don't know how I would feel if God told me to do something and I turned my back on Him.
Exactly.
That's easy to say.
Yeah.
It is.
Until you get in that situation.
Well, let me tell you, when you walking by sight and not by faith, and you see the person that offend you, and they hadn't changed, it brings about a thought process that has nothing to do with God at that
There you
moment.
go. Say
It
it.
has everything to do with what's in front of you.
Yep.
And you walking by sight and not by faith. And they still acting ugly. And you supposed to show Christian Christ-like ways to them. Let's be real now.
You think about it.
It's easy to say that in Him. It's very easy to say that in Him. But you could be just walking away from a situation where they just offended you. And then tomorrow you got to come in
There you go.
and somebody says, treat them Christ-like. But the somebody that said treat them Christ-like has no bearing over you treating them Christ-like. It doesn't matter if you heed to that or not. Those words they spoke, but those words don't have no power. It's all in you if you're going to treat them Christ-like or not. And it's decision time at that moment. And all of us, whether you admit it or not, all of us don't make that right decision. It's a growing process. I said all that to say is, that's a growing process.
Yes, it is.
That's a growing process.
Yes, it is.
Because when you stand in front of that person, everything that they ever did wrong to you flashes in your mind.
But you can't say they won't do it.
I'm not saying they won't do it. I'm not saying you won't do it. I'm saying there's a struggle. That's what I'm saying. Because in your mind, you rather say, you know what? I don't want to fool with them. I really don't want to fool with them. Let somebody else, I don't want to deal with them. Because they might say something and then, that's the choice that we'd rather make. To be honest. That's the choice. There's certain people that we just don't want to deal with.
Right. And Pastor, I was listening to Black, he said it's bad to put a person in a position, a high position that don't know God and that is evil.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
And
It's
she
true.
was one.
That's scripture right there.
It's true.
She was one. I'm telling you. She would just.
But in it, and just to add to a good spiritual point, it is great that God gave you the heart to say, I'm going to pray for a son.
Exactly.
Even though, we all have people we just bump in.
But then for my husband to even come to me and ask me, If I know that I've treated you bad, I ain't gonna ask y'all to pray for me. But, right, he came and asked me, because Clay was his, and he's still sick. He said, please, we need prayers for him.
But you're like the Israelites when they went to this land, you, even though that female was your enemy, you didn't let them get away with you showing God.
And Deacon
And
Jack,
we struggle with that.
scripture says every knee shall bow.
Yeah.
You know, we look at it so literally, but when you look at it spiritually, who else they gonna turn to? You see what I mean? Every knee shall bow. When you need prayer, you gonna go to somebody who you believe can get a word through.
Yeah, you think about it now. You don't care about what color you
You
are.
sure
You know,
don't, D.
when you need prayer.
You sure don't.
don't care how,
You don't care how educated, you don't care.
And then, even by the same token, you may not, you may have, somebody may have looked at you the same way that woman looked at, you looked at her. I mean, you may, I'm not saying you treat
Right,
her wrong,
I'm saying-
but it's just, it's one of those situations like, you know what?
Right.
That's right, D.
But they saw that in you. And we've all been in those situations where like, you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna do it. I don't care what they say. But deep down inside, that spirit in you will say, you know what? You'll think about it, you know what?
Amen.
You should have done that.
Yeah.
You should have thought like that. You should have never said never, never. Because we're all human. You'll say never, never, never.
That's right.
But when the spirit hits you, say, you know what? I should have went back and apologized to him.
And the Spirit will convict
There
you.
you go.
Yes, it will.
Because I said I should have prayed for him right there when the
There you
daddy
go.
asked me to.
Mhm. There you go.
And the Spirit convicted me.
It
And so
will.
I did pray for him.
It will.
Anytime, in the moment.
Yeah.
God has a way of showing you exactly where you at.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes we can go to church so much that we think that we just
Oh,
spiritual,
you're gonna say that?
Yes, and that.
you know, and then God has a way of saying, okay, let me show you exactly where you
Where
at.
you are.
And then they put that situation in your life.
Uh-huh.
And what's so unique about your situation is God showed you that the trend had been broken. That it didn't go from generation to generation to
That's
generation.
right.
There you go.
The generation after her came and said, regardless of what, this one thing,
That's right.
I believe that you can get prayer through.
That's right.
So the trend, God showed you that the trend had been broken. Now will you fall in line with the trend being broken? Which is amazing.
Because you know, you can say, well, hey, this person, but this person's a mother just like you. But you want your child to be a sin person, nobody will pray for them.
No,
That's how you
they're
kind of look at when you pray for somebody. I may hate, but I don't want to say, well, I hate this person because he who he is. But I'm a father just like he's a father. So I don't want, you know what I mean? I would want that kind of thing. And you really have to, like, Pastor, have to test out where you are.
Yeah.
I can say I'm a Christian, I love everybody.
Say it.
But when the test comes, he'll show you what you are.
Yes,
He'll
it
say
will.
you do this, and this. But he'll show you, do you really have faith? Do you really say you? He'll show you. Because if you deny a person and you're supposed to be helping people, that shows you where you are.
Where you are.
But y'all,
And you didn't say anything.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I can see where she's coming from, but the real test would have been if it was her. And the husband had come by and
You better say
said,
it.
pray for her.
National.
That would have been the real test.
Maybe God said, let me do the son first.
Yeah.
And it'll soften your hearts. You know what?
Yeah.
I could, you know, you could pray for her.
But
Even though you said she's mad, you could pray for her.
I do. And when I pray, I call out her name.
It's okay.
I do.
That's easy though.
Yeah.
It's easy to pray for somebody that you think need to change. What's hard is to pray for you if you need to change.
Good Lord Almighty.
See, that's the key. Because it's easy to say somebody else need to change, but
Yeah, but then God said it's the man in the mirror. Then it's a whole different. That's a whole different thing. Cause I could name 10 people right now that I think like and put them all on the prayer list.
but
But then God will look at the prayer list and say, "What your name is?"
no, what you said, everybody else has faults.
Yes,
Oh, hey, boy, y'all know the Lord.
Hey, it is amazing when you look at Ephesians 6:12, what it said, we wrestle against. Wrestle not against flesh and blood, principality. It's that inner man that's still in you. I don't care how much you say you righteous, it's still something in you that you wrestle with to say, do I take revenge or do I say I help?
You gotta wrestle with it.
So and it's that thing, people talk about the heart's a great place, but he said the heart is a deceitful place. So what happens is when you feed the soul feeds the heart. But whatever you feed your soul, ain't right, boy, that's real.
And it's amazing how Christ said, if it wasn't of God, I'm going to teach you. Sure, you have the commandments. You have the covenant. But what happens when you're in a different land? We come to church. We can all look good in here. I'm holy. I treat everybody right. Deacon John said, when the test comes on Wednesday morning, when, somebody come in and you bump head. Okay? Where's that? I love my name. Where's that going in? So when you're awake, what it say, character is what you do when no one's looking.
That's right.
So ask yourself, God is telling you, when you get to this land, there's going to be differences. What are you going to do? How are you going to treat your brother? How are you going to treat your sister? And go down to Numbers 7 says, keep far from a false charge and do not kill the innocent or the righteous, for I will not acquit the guilty. Don't make false arguments with someone just to tear them down and make you look good. When you know it's wrong, don't do that. And number 8, you shall not take a bribe. For a bribe blinds the clear-sighted and subverts the cause of the just. Anything I can give you to give you an advantage, that's a bribe. Money, position, whatever. Favor. Pastor got 6 deacons. Well, I'm going to show more favoritism toward Deacon John and Deacon Bailey than do other things. Sure, we have differences in how we deal with certain things, but I said, do you show favoritism? You get a bribe. You may say, go back to this, and you may say, I would never do it, but you probably think about it.
Right.
You've had something presented to you, and you know it's wrong, but it gives you an advantage. Yeah. You think about it. Never say never. But what do you do when a bribe comes? What do you do when somebody wants you to do something that you know is wrong, but you do it anyway? Because in that moment, that line, you make it go around, you poke a hole in there and see through. So ask yourself, when you're dealing with people, will you be accessory to taking a bribe to order to tear someone down or not do the right thing? And number 9, God ties it up back to what Deacon Bailey said when you've been in church and his life with chosen people. He said, you shall not oppress a stranger, since you yourself know the feelings of a stranger, for you were also strangers in the land of Egypt. You know how it is to be oppressed. You was in Egypt, you were oppressed, the Egyptians were oppressing you, we brought you out. Now you go into a land with other people, and you are my chosen people. Now what are you going to do? Are you going to oppress someone because you are God's chosen people? Because you, like I said, because you go to church, because you know 3 or 4 scriptures. How do you treat people who are different from you, less fortunate than you? How do you treat those people? How do you treat people that you don't know, you don't like, you think they're, let's be honest, sometimes we can get in our mind and we think we're so up here. That's I'm calling that. Don't people down here, they're not in my category. They've been like that sometimes. They're not in my category. I'm a son sister.
Right.
Yes, go right ahead.
Treat them the same way.
Do you? What does that mean, treat the same way? What does that mean?
Treat them like you like them.
What if they don't like you?
Treat people like you want to be treated.
But what if they don't like you?
It don't matter.
There you go.
You do your part.
Amen.
Yeah, you do your part. God will bless you for what you do, not what they do.
There you
You
go.
got that already.
Yeah.
In your daily lives, if it comes
That's a
up
model
on you,
right there.
how you deal with it?
That's a model. If you can go through life not allowing what people do and say affect you, affect your relationship with Christ, you're on the right path.
Right?
You're on the right path. That's a task right there.
Because you may get knocked down, you may get wavered, you may get up, but didn't say the road's gonna be straight, but stay on the path.
But that's what Pastor Baker told us. How do you know when you're a Christian? When you can love the brother. When you can do good and love those that despitefully use you. That's when you know you got it right, that you're on the right road. But it's hard.
And sometimes when it's hard, this may be a day, say, you know what? I still love you, but I gotta step away.
Right.
I love you enough.
I love you, I love nothing, you know, today may not be the day. Because you know, even in math, sometimes the day may not be the day. Some days, you know, I think when I got married, you know, married is 50-50. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not 50.
That's right.
No, we keep getting that math. No, it's not. Because some days, well, most days in my house is 90-10. And we're 90-10. And since I had this bad leg, man, 99-1 something. But you know, it's 30-70. So, and it's like that. So when you look, so some days, you got to step back and say, you know what? Some days I'm like, you know what? I love you so much. This may not be the day we need to communicate. Because I might, she's sitting there for what she lost. So if I know that when she has my phone, that she goes, how you go? So that's when you say things not supposed to say, God gets it. But, so that's the thing you have to look at. Be careful how you do things, how you say it.
Right.
Any question on the first outline? Love thy neighbor. So well said, so good. Love thy neighbor as I said. Treat others how you want to be treated. And the last outline, I'm going to have 3 verses. It said, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. The Sabbath day was set aside as a day of rest for the people, the land, the animals, and the crops. Now I want to say, you need to rest. You know, in this busy world, you know, and the way things are rat race, you're working, you're this, you're taking care of this. Just take time, not only just on the Sabbath day, you know, what we say Sunday, or just rest. You ever see sometimes you're so busy, you just say, you know what? Let me just stop. You know, let me take some, you ever let your mind don't do anything? You know, if you can, take some time. Go somewhere. Relax. Because working, I don't know where to work all the time. I tell my son all the time, I know you're working all the time, but you need to rest, man. You need to rest. It's good to work. I want to make money and all with it now. You know, we know people's situation. But sometimes when you just can rest, clear your mind, because you know, you're going to cost so much, you're terrible. But you got to let it just rest. And it says, back in those days, it was for 6 years, you shall sow your land and gather its yield. Remember 6 days God created heaven and earth? Created man. On the 7th day, so they say on the 7th year, let your field rest. And it said, but the 7th you shall let it rest and lie fallow, so that the poor of your people may eat, and what they leave, the wild animals may eat. You shall do the same with your vineyard and with your olive orchard. 6 days, number 12 says, 6 days you shall do your work, so that your ox and your donkey may have relief, and your homeborn slave and the relative alien may be refreshed. Work while the day is king, but when it's time to rest, you know, in your marriage, take some time to just rest. Not only rest, just enjoy it. In your relationship, take some time just to rest, relax. You know, this, I know you already make this. Sometimes you just sit at home and take a day off from work. That's about 2 you just took some time off. Just don't do anything. Rest your body. Not only rest yourself physically, rest yourself mentally. You know, a lot of times, you know, you can rest. I mean, you can get in touch with God like that. You know, when you can really talk to Christ, when you just like get the clutter out of your mind, that they, you know, your bills, your whatever, get it out of your mind. Just rest. Focus on God. Focus on treating your neighbor right. And I'm telling you, then you get ready to go back, you just feel so much better. You know, so if you can, just rest, relax, treat your neighbor as you want to be treated. And you may not have a perfect life, but it sure makes it a lot easier. Okay?
And then, you know,
yes, sir.
it do good that you respect other people's Sabbath.
Yeah.
the day they have chosen to rest.
Right.
Because I think sometimes we don't understand that your Sabbath might not be my Sabbath.
Exactly.
And I might have chose Saturday just to rest and relax and whatnot. But my wife got a whole list for me on Saturday. Or my neighbor, you know, they work all week. Now Saturday they off, and they came over and asked me to do this and do that. You know, so your Sabbath, it fluctuates depending on the person. So we have to learn how to respect each other's Sabbath and not walk away saying, they don't never want to do nothing for me. It just wasn't that day. You know, we have to be patient with each other, in other words.
You know a lot of things too. Let's not get Sabbath so confused with church.
There you go.
Because I think if you look at when it says Sabbath day, look back in the Old Testament, it said day of rest. Don't just say, well, Sabbath got to be Sunday. Don't, I'm not going to say this now. Don't just say Sabbath day, we got to be church. Well, what if your Sabbath day Saturday? You said if your only Sabbath is Sunday when you serve, what about Monday through Saturday? Are you not serving God on Monday, Tuesday? Yes, ma'am, come on
No,
with me. Give me the backup.
It says on the seventh day.
Seventh day.
So your seventh day may be different than my seventh day. You know what I mean? If I'm consistently going at it 6 days straight and I choose to rest on the seventh day and it happens to be a Thursday and yours was Sunday or that person's, it's saying set aside a time of rest. So it's not specific, and we do get that mixed up, that we try to hold somebody to specifically Sunday, but it is on whatever your seventh day is, whatever your day of rest is. God is saying set aside a day of rest. You can, and if it's good enough for God, it should be good enough for us. We can't just keep going. He set the model. He showed us how it needs to be done. And when he says, set aside a day of rest, then that's what we should be obligated to. But don't hold us, like you said, Deke, don't hold us accountable to and base it or have it predicated on when your day is versus my day.
Because if you rest, it's good.
Amen.
You can serve. Don't let serve be just one day.
That's right.
Let serve be every day. If you serve every day, you don't put yourself into a box.
That's right.
Rest, love your neighbor, and when you get to know, sitting like Sister Lena, when you get free, I can't do it. Yes, you can. 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 Have a great week. For those who live above I-20, I hope you be careful of the snow. For those of us below I-20, all we have is rain. Have a blessed day. That's okay.